From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Opinions with Big Joe Rouse on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. And now, here is Big Joe.
Well, hello, Chicagoland. How are we doing today? This is Big Joe, and you're listening to Opinion. We're over here broadcasting over at John DeVita's Broadcast Center on the Northwest Side. And I just want to say hi to Ridgewood High School manager Kevin over at Jack FM 89.7 WRHS Norridge. And I want to thank him and appreciate him for everything he does for myself and John here. And we are Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. And you can listen to us at www.windycityhometown.com. And if you ever wanted to call in during our shows, our number is 708-453-5114. Again, that's 708-453-5114. Hopefully, we put together a halfway decent show for you tonight. Maybe some interesting facts for you. I've been playing around with it for a while now, so we'll see what happens. Anyhow, I want to give a mention for BG's Bar and Grill over at 7455 West Irving Park Road. Phone number is 773-625-9700. Again, that's 773-625-9700. It's got probably the best pizza in this area on the Northwest Side. He's got a nice little bar there. He's got a great restaurant, a great food, great place to go watch the hockey game and get a pizza with your friends. And you tell him Big Joe sent you from Opinion and get yourself a free topping or something on the pizza. Get something from the guy. I'll have to send John over there one day for a pizza. You know, they do have delivery, John, so you should try it. He's got a really good pizza.
I've been there several times.
Very good. Then You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I've been there. In fact, I had a nice meal over there with George Bliss one evening.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice. He just did some remodeling. Wait till the summertime. They got the windows that pull out and open up, and they got so it's open air. It'd be real nice. They do karaoke there, and yeah, it's a nice place. Good time, good pizza, good food, good people. Can't beat it. And speaking about things we can't beat, how about this weather? You were just saying as I walked in here, you had frost on the pumpkins up north, huh, John?
Oh yes, we sure did, boy. I tell you, and you know, Joe, it's been snowing. I tell you, you can't believe the amount of snow that we have up there. It is really unreal. Yesterday morning, my sister and I, we were going to take a ride to Delavan to do some grocery shopping, and before we could get out of the driveway, we had to use the snow blower to clear the driveway.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
And the wind up there, you wouldn't believe the wind, and then, of course, Joe, I know you're familiar with the area up there. We went down County A yesterday.
Okay.
Take County A. Do you know that some of the snow piles are taller than you and I?
The drifts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And the wind, the way that north wind was blowing, I mean, the plows. Wisconsin did one great job of cleaning the snow, the streets, the roads up there, and the plow will go down, and about 5 minutes later, it's all done because of the way the snow has been blowing.
Yeah, you got all that open land, and that snow just blows and drifts, and there's not a whole lot you could do about it.
Open land isn't the word for it up there.
Yeah.
I tell you. Yeah. I'm surprised that a lot of the farmers up there don't have snow fences on the property.
They stopped using that for some reason, John.
I
don't
know
why. You know, I remember we used to put that red snow fence up all the time. It was everywhere where there was open land. Because if you don't know what a snow fence is, it's what they do is they put it so many feet off the road.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when the wind blows, it hits the fence, it stops the snow, and what goes over piles on the other side of it, so it doesn't go to the road and pile up. And that's the idea of how the snow fence is supposed to work.
I don't think the snow fences would have done really much good right now because the snow piles are like I said, they're about 6-7 feet high in some places.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But you know what? With this weather, it's a big deal right now. This has been, we've had such mild winters these last few years, probably the last 10 years. I mean, we had some bad days, but for the most part, we had a couple of storms here and there, but we've had some really, really mild winters these last few years. And I went and I looked up all kinds of information about the cold and the snow. Okay, and we're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to let everybody know that, a cold winter is a good winter. As much as we don't like the cold or not used to the cold air helps kill a lot of the flu germs. It kills a lot of the larvae from bugs, so we're not infested with gnats and mosquitoes and bugs during the spring and summer. We're going to get them, but we're just not going to get as many. So, back in the days in the 60s and the 70s, our Januaries probably were always cold. And 2 degrees and single-digit numbers were not uncommon. We expected it. And it was snow on the ground all winter long because it never had time to melt because it was always cold. And just like you're seeing it this year. So it's actually kind of refreshing to have this kind of weather back. And you're going to appreciate come spring and summer, hopefully. We should, be a healthier and less bugs. And nobody likes bugs. Right? I'm sure of that, right? Especially up north, you get all those mosquitoes and the West Nile virus you got to worry about, right, John?
That's right. You're right, Joe.
So let's take it in stride. Just dress properly, eat and drink properly, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You do a lot of drinking in weather like this to keep warm.
Well, I meant fluids. I didn't mean alcohol, but alcohol's okay too, I guess. At least for us that are old enough to drink it. How's that?
That's right.
Okay. So anyhow, I happen to have here a list of the top 20 coldest towns or cities in the United States, and I'm going to run these past you real quick. The number 20, Boston. Boston's average temperature between December. All these are between December and February. So December, January. So it's a 3-month period, and they're all from the same time, December to February. That's and their average temperature that they have figured out for these towns. Okay, and Boston came in as number 20 with the average temperature of 31.8 degrees. What its all-time low was a minus 18 on February 9th in 1934. Number 19 was Kansas City. Their average temperature was 31.3 degrees. Their all-time low was a minus 23 set on December 22nd and December 23rd of 1989. So, it probably happened overnight. Number 18 was Denver at 31.2 degrees. Their coldest temperature ever recorded in Denver was a minus 29 on January 9th, 1875. That was a long time ago. Pittsburgh came in 17 with 31.1 degrees, their lowest temperature ever, 22 degrees below zero, and that came about on January 19th, 1994. I want you to remember that date, 1994, because there's a bunch of 1994s there. So there must have been one hell of a cold front that came through in 1994 in January. Okay, number 16, Colorado Springs, 30.8 degrees, lowest temperature ever recorded, 27 degrees, minus 27 degrees, sorry. Happened on February 1st, 1951, and also happened on December 9th, 1919. Number 15, Indianapolis, Indiana, 30.6 degrees is their average temperature for those 3 months. Their lowest temperature, single day temperature, was a minus 27, which also happened on January 19th, 1994. Cleveland, Ohio, 30.3 degrees average for the winter. Their lowest temperature, single day temperature, was a minus 20, and that also happened on January 19th, 1994. Akron, Ohio, 28.5 degrees average temperature. Their lowest temperature recorded any single date was a minus 25, which was also January 19th, 1994. And obviously this cold front came through the Midwest. I'm surprised Chicago wasn't in there. But in January 19th, 1994, it must have been one cold day coming through the Midwest. Anyhow, let's go to number 12 or number 13, which is Akron, Ohio. No, number 12, Detroit, Michigan, 27.9 degrees, minus 21, their lowest temperature, and that was on January 21st, 1984. Then you got Toledo, Ohio, Their average temp, 27.8. Did I just give you that one? Anyhow, it doesn't matter. That was on January 20, 1984. Fort Wayne, Indiana, number 10. 27.4 degrees, their lowest temperature, 24 on January 12th, 1918. Buffalo, New York gets a call on this one. 27.1 degrees, their average temperature, minus 20, their lowest, which happened in February of 61 and February of 34. Rochester, New York, minus 27 degrees, their average temp during the winter, their lowest ever, minus 22, February 9th, 1934. Lincoln, Nebraska, 26.8 degrees, their average temp for the winter, and minus 33 was their lowest ever. And it happened on January 12th, 1974. And now Chicago gets a call as number 6. 26.4 degrees our average temperature for the winter. Our lowest ever was minus 27 degrees. And that happened on January 20th, 1985. That was the year the Bears won the Super Bowl. Oh, actually, well, it was the 85 season, but it was actually 86, I guess, when the Super Bowl was played, right? Omaha, Nebraska, 25.9 degrees. Minus 32 was their lowest single-day temp, and that happened January 5th, 1884, a very long time ago. Here we back up in the Midwest. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 24.9, their lowest temp ever, 26 degrees below zero. Happened on February of 96 and January of 82. How about this one? Madison, Wisconsin. Their average temperature throughout the winter is 21.6 degrees, but their lowest single-day temperature was a minus 37. You know how cold? That's not a wind chill, John. That's their lowest. That was their low temperature for the day, minus 37. It happened January of 1951. I mean, that's cold. That's real cold.
I tell you go outside on a day like that, Joe, the tears in your eyes would freeze.
I don't even know how you breathe it. You got to have something over your mouth. You think sucking that cold air would just take the breath right out of you?
That's for sure it would. Boy, 37
below zero.
Below zero. Man, all life.
That's not even a wind chill. That's just the temperature.
There's a lot of frost on the pumpkin at that place.
You're kidding. That pumpkin dug a hole and climbed in at that temperature. Number 2 is Anchorage, Alaska, 18.8 degrees. What their lowest single-day temp was minus 38, and that was in February of 1947. And the city with the coldest winter temperature is Minneapolis, St. Paul, with 18.7 degrees, and their lowest single-day temp was a minus 41 without the wind chill. And that happened back in 1888. All right, now, along with that, I'm going to give you the top 6 snowiest cities. Now, you were talking about snow earlier, about the wind, the drifts, and all the snow up there. Well, it was child's play compared to this, John. Let me tell you. Number 6 of the snowiest cities is Boonville, New York. Not really sure where that is, but I'm sure it's pretty far north. Their average snow for the winter is 193.5 inches. Wow. 193.5. Okay, number 5 is Lead or Lead, South Dakota. Never heard of the town? Lead. Their average snow is 200.8 inches. 200.8. Now, this one is you're going to get a kick out of. It's in California, believe it or not. It's called Truckee, California. It must be way up north in California. They get an average of 202.6 inches of snow every winter. Unbelievable. Then we come more towards the Midwest, and we're in Hancock, Michigan. 211.9 inches of snow every year, their average. Number 2 is Crested Butte, Colorado. 215.3 inches of snow. Now, what would you think be the snowiest state in the country, John?
What do I think would be the snowiest state in the country?
Yeah.
I would say, if not Wisconsin, Michigan.
Well, it's Alaska,
Alaska.
and it's Valdez, Alaska. From number 2 was Crested Butte, Colorado, with 215 inches. Valdez, Alaska, 326.3 inches of snow every winter.
Wow.
Now, speaking of Valdez, Alaska, I got something for you here. They shut the town down. There's only one road going into that town. One road in, one road out. And they had a couple of avalanches over there. Like 30 feet of ice and snow covering the street, the road, going in and out of Valdez. So there's 4,000 people, I believe, in that town, approximately, and they might have to evacuate because nobody could get in, nobody could get out. They're on the water, so they come in with barges to get them in and out or whatever. But can you believe that? The road is closed with 30 feet of ice and snow. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So anyhow, with all of that said, I just wanted to share, seeing it's been so cold, and we're actually getting a winter like we used to have back when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s.
Even before that, Joe.
Well, yeah. Well, I wasn't around before that, though, John.
I was.
Well, okay. I hate admitting I was around back then, to be honest with you, but no, it's all good. No, it's just that it's actually, like I said, it's really nice. It's really, really nice to have the snow again. I like it. I love it. I know people get aggravated. I know the cold. But look at the kids. They shut down the schools. They think they get an extra day off, but they really don't, because you have to go to school so many days a year, and that's that. So if you burn up too many snow days, then you got to stay. Instead of getting off June 1st, you get off at June 5th. You know, you got to put them in at the end. So,
well, I was talking to Kevin today on my way back home from Elkhorn, and of course the school was closed today, Monday, and will be closed tomorrow, Tuesday, January the 28th, and he says they're probably going to take some of the holidays and days that they were supposed to get off,
like for spring break or something, to shorten it up.
Yeah,
because they have to, it's federal law. Because it's federally funded, like the school district, basically, unless it's private school. And they have to have so many days of school, or, they won't get their funding. So they have to go. So, but you know what? I'd rather take the extra days at the end of the year, because everything's a lot more relaxed,
Yes.
This time of year, everything's push. The last month or so, the last couple of weeks of school, that's pretty much a lot more relaxed. So if they got to add days on, add them on at the end if I was still in school. Get it over with that way. Take it the easy way. But anyhow, as I was saying, the weather's bad. It's cold. It's snowy. But believe me, this is how it is in the Midwest, in Chicago. This is what we love. This is what we live for. At least some of us. And believe me, it's healthy for us, whether we believe it or not. So let's just take it in stride. And if you don't like it, then my opinion is, get on a plane and get the heck out of town, man. That's what vacations are for.
But you know something, Joe?
What's that?
Watching the news last night, Channel 4 News up in Elkhorn.
Yeah.
Do you know that the entire United States is cold?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
I mean, that jet stream has gone way south, way down into Texas and all that. Now, my sister is supposed to fly to Florida to visit some neighbors that used to live next door to her up there, and we were watching the weather forecast, and it said on there that normally when it's 80 degrees or better down that area, right now it's only in the upper 50s and 60s.
Exactly right. I got friends down in Tampa. Same thing. It's in the 60s there, and you know what? I love Florida, but people that live up here, in the northern part of the U.S., and they work full time, and they got a family, and they work, they get a week or two's vacation, John, and they plan a trip down to Florida. They're taking a big risk.
Mm-hmm.
In today's world, you're taking a big risk, because I'll tell you what, you're not guaranteed a good week in Florida ever, unless it's summer. You know what I mean? Unless it's the spring, summer, early fall. But during the winter, you're not guaranteed you're going swimming every day, pal. It could be raining, it could be cloudy, it could be cold, and that ruins a Florida trip.
That's right.
Now, if you get down to the Keys, like Key West, you're going to be, you're pretty far south. You're pretty safe, or you get to one of the islands. And I'll tell you what, in today's world, the cost I don't think is that much difference between a Florida vacation or a vacation to Punta Cana and the Dominican or whatever. And it ain't that much farther. And you're going to be a lot safer with the weather, And I'm not picking on Florida. I love Florida. It's a great place to be. But, a guy with a family and is working all year long, gets a 2 weeks vacation, wants to take his kids down to Florida for 7 or 8 days, and they get a bad week, I feel so bad for them because that could just ruin it. You know what I mean? It could just ruin a vacation. So, but yeah, Florida is not guaranteed a good weather this time of year, especially January. The best month to be in Florida is April and May.
That's when I was down there.
Yeah.
During spring vacation.
Yeah, that's the best time because you're going to have 80 to 90 degree temperatures, and you're not going to be it's not real buggy yet. That's the bad thing. You got those no-see-ums down there, man. They're brutal, right?
No, you're right.
That's why everybody's got those, what do they call them? They're on the screened-in, areas. What do they call it in Florida? They got a name for it. I forget.
Like a screen-in porch, you mean?
Yeah, it's a screen-in porch, but they're big. They're lanais. Mm-hmm. I think they call them lanais or something like that. They're big screen because those no-see-ums, they're just what they are. They're no-see-ums.
That's right, and I was the victim of it.
Oh man, they'll just chew you up, man.
That's right.
You'll wake up in the morning itching like crazy. You don't know what the hell happened. But no, Florida's a great state. A lot of fun.
And I think calamine lotion is the one that you put on them to kill them or to stop the itching.
Yeah, calamine's a very good lotion for that. Yeah, I mean they got all kinds of stuff out there, but calamine lotion is more natural, I guess.
No-see-um and ticks.
Ticks. Oh boy, we don't want to mess with the ticks. All right, let's move off the weather now. Let me just throw a plug for my friend Carl over at BG's again. That's BG's Bar and Grill at 7455 West Irving Park Road. Phone number 773-625-9700. You tell him Big Joe sent you and you want a free topping or you want a free pop. You want something for free from him. Or else Big Joe's going to come here and have a talk with him. They have delivery, best pizza, great Italian food. You'll love the place. You'll love the food. It's a great place to go watch a hockey game. He's got a big screen in the back. Nice. You could bring your family. It's a very family-oriented. It's very nice. You'll love it there. And I guarantee you'll like I know you'll like the pizza, okay? I can't guarantee because everybody's got different tastes. But he's got a great pizza. It ain't Caesar's, okay? You young kids today, whoever's listening out there, you guys are used to that goofy Caesar's pizza and Pizza Hut and whatever else. That's not real pizza, okay? You got to go and have real pizza. And if you want real pizza, you get yourself over to BG's Bar and Grill and you'll have some real pizza. All right, now, let's go pick on some of the stars. Last night, they had the Grammys. The Grammys are always a big deal like any other thing, with all the movie stars and all the big shots and all the sexiness and all that good stuff, And I guess it kind of started out with a little Beyonce and that Jay-Z doing their Drunk in Love. They performed that, which is from her new album. Which, John, I was fortunate enough to go to her concert about a month or so ago. She had over in the Sid downtown. Mm-hmm. And then they put out that album like that night, and she kept it like all secret and stuff, It was kind of cool, And what's funny about it? The whole cast of her concert, I'm talking every dancer, every background singer, every musician, the drummer, the guitar, every musician, everybody were all women. The only two men they had on stage during her whole performance was two male dancers that they used because they just had to be guys. But every other person involved in that concert was female. Mm-hmm. That I thought was different. You know what I mean? I don't think I've never seen that before. I'm not knocking. I just thought it was that. I mean, the whole band was all women.
Yeah.
There were no men involved at all except for those two those two guy dancers, which they probably needed because they needed guys to do certain things. You know, the women can't. Whatever. I shouldn't say that women can't do, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep.
So anyhow, but Beyonce and Jay-Z performed that "Drunken Love," very sexy, and you know what? As they were talking about it, I guess they have a good point, a couple good points. One is it was because they're married, so it was nice to see a married couple performing and getting along and being sexy with each other to show that, you know, you could be married and still be sexy, I guess. You know, it was kind of nice. But then there was a few people who didn't like it, thought it was too much, because it came on at, what, 8 o'clock?
7
7
o'clock.
Okay, our time, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So they thought it was a little too early to show that because kids are watching it. Well, you know what? It's the Grammys, man. You know, everybody's out dressed to the nines, and they're all, you know, they're all performing at their best, and they're going to do what they have to do. Don't let the kids watch it. End of story. I mean, come on. It's like, I mean, why, you know, record it. Let them listen to the music or buy a tape. You know they're gonna look at the outfits they were wearing. Did you see some of the? Did you watch it at all? Did you see some of the dresses they were wearing? They had well, Madonna had this cool black suit on and stuff. I thought it was pretty awesome. But anyhow, this Kira Cuici, I don't even know how to say her name. Quici. She had on this thing with she was all leg. I mean, it was dynamite, but it was very revealing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then that singer-songwriter Nadia, she had this beautiful outfit on with these gorgeous boots, man, just sparkling all over the joint. I'm a boot guy, you know, so I can't help myself. And then Paris Hilton, of course, she was there with a white dress on, which was pretty sexy too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about sex and stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? Those women want to look beautiful. I don't blame them. That Kaya Jones, she had slits everywhere, saw that leg showing. It was beautiful. And then, how about did you see Taylor Swift performing?
Yes, I did.
I'm surprised she didn't break her neck.
Yeah.
What was up with that?
Yep.
I mean, she was throwing her head all over that hair was flying all over the joint.
Yeah, I have my opinions on that type of entertainment, Joe. I mean, I'm not really for that. You know?
I understand, and I understand that. I understand that.
It's just my sister and I, we were sitting in the family room, and at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock comes on. Lawrence Welk, just a Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Lawrence Welk comes on, and I mean that's a good, nice program, you know.
Yeah.
And then last night we're watching the Grammys at 7 o'clock, and I says, what a difference in music and
were no bubbles going across that stage, were there?
And some of those people, the way they look, Joe, it's I don't want to say because I know this is going to be going over the air, but I tell you, some of them really did not look.
Well, it's very revealing. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the drunken love performance, it looked like she was in her underwear with
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I got nothing against it. It's all good with me. But I can understand how it would be offensive to some people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
See, I didn't grow up in that type of an era. You know.
Right.
And when I see stuff like this, I just turn my head and look out the patio door window and look at something else. look at the wind blowing and the snow blowing.
Look away for a few minutes,
yeah,
huh?
Yes.
That's all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll come back for the second half of the show. Thank you for listening, and we'll be right back.
From the John Navita Broadcast Center, you are listening to Opinions with Big Joe Roush on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. And now, back to Big Joe.
Okay, we're back. This is Big Joe with Opinion. And you're listening to John DeVita at John DeVita's Broadcast Center on Northwest Side. And we just want to thank Kevin over at Ridgewood High School at Jack FM at 89.7 WRHS Norwich for all he does for us. And again, you're listening to Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, and you can hear us You can hear us on the internet at www.windycityhometown.com. And if you ever want to call in, our call-in number is 708-453-5114. Okay, we got somebody on the phone. It's Kevin. Kevin, how are you?
I'm very good, Big Joe Roush. How are you?
I'm good, Kevin. What can we do for you today? What's on your mind? What's your opinion on? What do you got an opinion on?
Well, I want to know your opinion. Today is Monday, January 27th, and tomorrow is Tuesday, January 28th. And many schools, including the Chicago Public Schools, have been closed today, Monday, and tomorrow, Tuesday, when you're recording this. What is your opinion of school closings when you were a child versus now? It seems like there's more of them now than there were before. What are your thoughts? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'd like to know your opinion.
Okay. You're absolutely right. We didn't have these closings when we were kids that I remember. If it snowed, it didn't matter about the rain, the snow, the cold. We still went to school. They didn't shut them down. And as far as today, I would think it's probably a good thing because of, these kids should be out. Some of them aren't properly dressed because they can't afford to be, and for the parents to them out. But the downside of this is a lot of these kids, especially in the city of Chicago, the school is their babysitter. The parents are off to work. They send their kids to school, and the parents got to go to work. When they have these closed down dates, it screws up the parents because they don't know what to do with their children. If they got to take, they're not making. A lot of them aren't making. They're making minimum wage, and so if they have to take off work, they're not getting paid, so they're losing money. So it's really it's really, I don't know. I think they should leave the schools open. I think the teachers should be there. Anybody that can get their kids to school should send them. The ones that don't make it should just be excused absence, and that's my opinion.
Well, very good. Well, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Kevin. Well, thank you for calling. I hope you liked my answer.
All right, take care.
Take care, buddy.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, thanks, Kevin, for that call. It was nice to hear from somebody. And if there's anybody else out there ever wanting to call in, you got our number is 708-453-5114. And we have different shows throughout the month. And you can always find out when they are and what they are at Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network at www.windycityhometown.com. All right. Now, we were talking about, what were we talking about there, John? We were talking about the Grammys last night, right? Okay, so anyhow, we went over the the sexiness and all that, which is nice, for some, not so nice for others, But you know what? Music and sex, that's what it is today. Look at these rap songs, the way they talk. I don't get it. I mean, they swear, they say there's a lot of nasty stuff going. I mean, back in the 70s, you had what the heck was his name? Frank Zappa. Do you remember Frank Zappa,
Yep.
John?
Yep.
He was out there. He came out with a lot of wild songs, but they weren't bad. They was like, like Mothers of Invention album where, the dental floss bush, I'm going to my dad. I mean, there wasn't really nothing nasty in it, Today, man, they're like brutal with stuff.
Joe, during the program last night, there was one group that was doing the rap.
The rap stuff.
The rap stuff, yeah. And the sound kept going on and off. They were cutting the stuff off. Because they don't have the beep like we used to have at WJJG. But
right.
They would cut. And my sister says, "Jesus, there's something wrong?" And I says, "No." I says, "They're cutting out probably some nasty words that should not go over the air because
right.
The sound engineer up there hit the button to cut out that part of the
because it is early. They probably have to cut out. Maybe after 10 o'clock or whatever certain time or 9 o'clock they don't have to, but at 7 o'clock they do.
Well, to me, I don't think that's necessary that they have to use that kind of language over the air.
But that's what these songs are. Yeah. They're crazy. I don't know. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. But anyhow, there was some other stuff I wanted to run past you about the Grammys here. I'm looking for it. Oh, okay. How about the Beatles? Okay, they had two of the original Beatles do a performance, which is kind of nice because the Beatles are probably one of the, or probably still is one of the biggest bands in the country as far as making money and selling albums. Is even though they've been disbanded for 50 years or whatever it's been, 40 something years. And I got some pretty interesting facts about the Beatles here. A couple of interesting facts, I should say. Okay. And this is in 1977. When they sent the Voyagers up in space just to float around space, John, well, they had one they used to put records in just because they figured if there was any intelligent life up there and they took, they grabbed one of our or whatever the things are satellites or Voyagers are floating out there, they had all kinds of information about us saying that, to show that we were, diversified and stuff, and we were not, a cultural people, and something, we're not out to fight and and have war, and they put a couple, they almost had a Beatles record in the Voyager in 1977. I'm trying to think which the name of the song was. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. They also. Oh no, it was there. Here Comes the Sun. It was the song "Here Comes the Sun." That's the one they put in the Voyager. That was one of the things. Okay, another fact about the Beatles: the fans used to throw Jelly Bellies at them. I don't know if you ever heard this.
No.
Well, I think it was George Harrison. He once said how he loved Jelly Bellies.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't throwing them out of mad at him. Believe me, they weren't throwing stuff at the Beatles because they didn't like them. The girls used to scream and faint at Beatles concerts, okay? They were so loved by everybody. In fact, they had approximately 73 million Americans tune in to the first Beatles show, which was on the Ed Sullivan Show on February 9th, 1964. Okay? 73 million Americans. That's three times the amount of people that watched the final episode of the latest American Idol finale. 3 times. And that was in 1964. How cool is that? I mean, in 1964, there was probably only 73 million Americans at the time. Well, there might have been one person who didn't watch it. You know what I mean?
And that one person was probably me.
I got another fact for you. The Beatles landed here on U.S. soil for the first time 2 days prior to that date in New York on February 7th, 1964. And you know what's so special about February 7th?
February the 7th.
Yeah.
What's so special about February the 7th?
You know what's so special? Besides the fact the Beatles landed here in the U.S. for the first time?
No.
It's
What?
my birthday.
Is it?
Ah,
Your birthday's February the 7th?
that's it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, a week from Friday, huh?
Now I'm going to give you one more thing.
All right.
Okay, the Beatles landed on this here on February the 7th, 1964, and they were on the Ed Sullivan Show Sunday, February
9th.
the 9th, 1964.
Right.
And the love of my life, the love of my heart, the Aragon Ballroom at Lawrence and Broadway closed its doors to the big band era on Saturday, February the 8th,
Really?
1964.
The day in between.
Yeah. So the big band music went out, and the Beatles came in the next day.
Wow. Look at that.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
February 8th, and I have the recordings with Franklin McCormick and Wayne King and the whole staff from WGN, and I was there with WGN doing the remote broadcast the final night the Aragon played the big band music.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, all right, let's get back to these Beatles real quick here. As you all know, 2 of them are still alive, 2 have passed, and that's Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney are still here. John Lennon and George Harrison are gone. unfortunately. And for the two of them even to get together was a rarity because when they broke up, they broke up. You know, when they were still hot in the 60s, hot and heavy, they were looking to buy an island together. You knew about that, huh? Because
I heard about it.
yeah, because they just wanted to have a place to go to where they could be away from the fans because they were mobbed everywhere they went.
Yeah.
Not that they didn't like anybody. It's just that they still, you know, like any movie star or anybody, any big shot, anybody with popularity, they want their privacy, you know? So, but, yeah. There's another thing. The Beatles, I told you about the Jelly Bellies. Oh, I didn't finish telling you about the Jelly Bellies. So, I think it was George Harrison. He once said that he liked Jelly Bellies. So after he said that, when they would go cons, they would throw the Jelly Bellies at him. You know, like because he liked them, not because they didn't like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, they had to say we don't like Jelly Bellies anymore because they used to have to dodge them. They were afraid of getting hit in the face or the eye or whatever. You know. So.
Okay, now who are the two Beatles that are deceased?
The two that are passed away is George Harrison and John Lennon.
Okay, one of those gentlemen who passed away, their wife was at the doings last night.
Yoko Ono?
Yeah.
That was John Lennon's wife.
John Lennon's wife.
Yoko Ono.
Yeah, she was there. She had black glasses on.
Yeah,
glasses,
that was John Lennon's
and
wife.
she had like a thing on her head, whatever they call that.
She was, yeah.
I can't think the terminology they use, but yeah, they kept showing her on the air.
Yeah, that was Yoko Ono. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
They were a big deal for a while, boy.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, and here's another fact nobody's going to know about the Beatles, and you're going to really think this is crazy. They could not read music.
Is that right?
That's right. They could write it, they could sing it, they could perform, but not one of them knew how to read music.
For goodness sakes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I thought when I found that out, I thought it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the craziest thing I ever heard. But yeah,
it's like writing the scripts for a commercial. Don't know how to read it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let me give you one last fact about the great Beatles. On April 4th, 1964, they held 12 positions in the Billboard Hot 100 singles list. Okay, including the top 5. So they had out of their 12 top positions they had in the top 100, 5 of them were the first 5, which was the first and only time to this date that it's ever happened that one band ever did that. That's amazing too. You know, that's how hot they were. That's how they were. It's too bad they didn't last longer. You know, John.
Yep.
So, and as long as we're talking about music, did you hear the latest about Susan Boyle? You remember her?
No.
You know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Susan Boyle became famous a couple years ago on America Got Talent or one of those shows. She's just she's from I think London or something, or England, somewhere around there, London, England, somewhere, and she's just an average-looking woman. She's not sexy. She's not no model, She's but she got up on stage. I mean, she actually looked like, just a housewife that, is cooking for, whatever, just a regular woman. She got on stage and she shocked the world with her voice. Okay? Shocked the world. I'm surprised you haven't heard of her. Anyhow, she's worth about $33 million now. Well, just for a heads up, she wouldn't apply for a job that pays $9.96 an hour at as a cashier at like a betting parlor or something. And they don't know why. They just think she's bored because she's not going on tour until the spring or summer, and she was looking for something to do. So I thought that was kind of funny,
She's worth that much money looking for a $9 job.
Just to do that, maybe just to have something to do. I guess they're thinking maybe it was a publicity stunt or something, but they don't see it's not looking that way. She's just bored. So, but I'm telling you, she's just your average woman. It doesn't surprise me that she would do something like that. It really doesn't. So anyhow, that's enough with the music stuff. Okay, we'll be done with that. The Grammys were nice. Everything was great. My opinion on all that stuff, anyhow, is if you like it, you watch it. If you don't, then don't. End the story. Okay, that's it. Now, moving on, I just want to. I know a lot of you out there probably don't know who the Marlboro Man is, but I'm sure John does. Remember the Marlboro Man back in the 70s?
Got the cigarettes?
Yeah, the guy who did the cigarette commercials.
Yep.
He was everywhere. He was on billboards. They
Yep.
used to have like movable ones where the arm was going back and forth to the mouth with the cigarette, and the smoke would come out. They had billboards where it was actually looked like a wooden guy smoking a cigarette. Remember that?
Yeah, I sure do.
I mean, this guy was everywhere. The Marlboro Man.
If I'm not mistaken, Joe, there was one on the Kennedy Expressway.
There probably was.
Yeah.
His name was Eric Lawson, and he did the commercial. He was the Marlboro. He did all the Marlboro commercials. He was in a couple movies like Beretta, or TV shows like Beretta and Streets of San Francisco and Dynasty, Baywatch, Charlie's Angels. He did little spots in. And the only reason why I'm bringing him up, because fate is fate. The man had passed at 72 years old recently, and he died from smoke-related disease. Go figure, right? So, I mean, it's not funny. I'm just saying. I guess my whole point is to you is, why you got to smoke, man? You know, back in the day, it was accepted. I mean, you young people out there will not believe this, but you used to go to a doctor's office, and the doctor was smoking while you were in the office. People used to smoke in hospitals. How about in an airplane? How about in an elevator? People smoked everywhere. Nobody cared. It was not a big deal. Remember, John?
That's right.
I mean, it didn't matter. Everybody smoked. I mean, can you imagine going in your doctor's office and he's over there telling you what's wrong with you while he's puffing on a cigarette?
Also in restaurants.
Yeah. Well, the restaurants, they still smoked in up until recently. I mean, that's more recent than most of these other things.
You know, Joe, smoking a cigarette, like Lucky Strikes and Pall Mall and
No filters.
And all those, was bad enough. But people were very inconsiderate when they would sit at a restaurant or sit in a place of public and smoke a cigar.
Oh, yeah, they're brutal.
Oh, my God.
Especially
I
a
tell
cheap cigar.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, cigars they're so strong, and when they puff it, man, it just. And you know what killed me? I mean, I used to smoke. It's been over 18 years now for me, but I don't get how people could smoke while they eat. You know, everybody got, if you were a smoker, when you were done eating, you actually looked forward to having that cigarette when you were all done, relaxed, and having a cup of coffee and, puffing on a smoke. But to sit at the table while people are still eating and light up a cigarette, you deserve a punch in the nose. You know that?
That's right. Yep.
That was even when it was acceptable, that's rude. That was rude.
I tell you, when I was working with WJJG,
Yeah.
and I'd be on the air, and in comes the boss, Joe Gentile, and he would come in with those cigars. Oh my God, I tell you, the place just reeked with the odor cigars. And finally, when he went back to his apartment, I used to open up the front door where you walked in, that door, and open up the windows in the studios to air the place out, regardless of what the weather was outside or what
Right.
it was. But boy, that cigar really. And I used to smoke cigars also.
Oh, did you?
Swisher Sweets, those.
Yeah, those little ones. Yeah.
Well, one day there was the doings at the Chicago Fire Academy, and I picked up my son, and I had a red Nissan, and we're going down the Kennedy Expressway, and I took one of the Swisher Sweets out, and I lit it up. And Michael was driving, and he looked at me, and he says, Dad, he says, would you do me a favor? I said, sure, Michael. What? He said, would you stop smoking? Well, the brand new pack of Swisher Sweets I had in my pocket, the one I had in my mouth, went out the window and went right down the Kennedy Expressway somewhere, and I never touched it ever since.
Good for you.
Never, nothing.
Well, that's how I quit. Was I told myself around Thanksgiving, I'm going to quit midnight Christmas Eve. So midnight, Christmas morning.
Yeah.
And at midnight, we toasted at my house, my family, and had some friends over in the basement sitting at the bar. And Merry Christmas, everybody. We did our toast, and I gave my cigarettes to my wife at the time, and I said, kids, I quit smoking. Merry Christmas. Your dad's going to live another extra 20 years, is what I told him.
And I used to smoke cigarettes, Pall Malls.
Yeah.
and I used to smoke Swisher Sweet cigars and White Owls,
Nice.
and I also used to smoke a pipe.
Well, you know what now? I used to. I never really smoked a pipe, but I knew people that did, and I used to love the smell of. There was some like
Yeah.
the Captain Black, I think it was, and there was another one. It just smelled so good, man.
What I enjoyed smoking a pipe. We used to go up to Chautauqua, Wisconsin, way up past Eau Claire, Wisconsin, way up
Yeah,
there. You know,
yeah.
we used to go up there and fish. And at nighttime, I used to love to sit on the bench on the pier and just smoke a cigar and just let my mind wander away.
Very relaxing, huh? Very relaxing. So, okay, enough of that smoking. Don't smoke. End of story. My opinion. It's not good for you. Okay, forget about it. Not even marijuana with the medical marijuana. It's all BS. Okay, that's all you kids need to be doing now. Smoking that stuff. Get off it. It's not good for you. Besides, a young kid today, there's two things that can ruin your life. You get a DUI if you're drinking and driving. It'll stay with you forever. And if you get busted with drugs, it'll stay with you forever. And when I say forever, when you're 35 years old and you want to go for a job and you're straight and you got a family and you're a pillar in the neighborhood, when they look at your background and see you got a drug arrest, even though you were 17, 18 years old, they're not going to hire you. And they're not going to forgive you because the world has changed. There is no forgiving today anymore. Back in my day or John's day, everybody, well, he was a kid. He ain't doing that shit now. I'm sorry. He ain't doing that stuff now. You know, they forgave kids. Kids aren't forgiven for nothing today. There is no forgiving. They expect you, and I know it's asking too much. I believe it's asking too much. I don't agree with it. I really don't. I mean, I think as you grow up, everybody makes decisions. You do things, you know. Everybody makes mistakes in life. I don't think you should be punished your whole life for it. But I'm just telling you, if you could just not do it, man, don't do it. You know, if you need to experience something, do it at home with your family. You know, let them watch over you. Don't get in trouble, because you got to live with it the rest of your life.
That's right. And if you got into an accident and kill somebody, that's on your conscience the rest of your life. Not only your record, but you're just a has-been in life.
And it'll be the hardest thing. John, I can't even imagine if something like that happened. Even if you're totally straight, sober, did nothing wrong, and still an accident happens and somebody died, that's hard to live with.
That's right.
That's hard to live with.
That's right.
But now, with the fact that you were impaired and it's your fault, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't live with myself. So, yeah, it's just my opinion on that one is, man, just don't do it. Don't do it. And if you got to do it at home and stay home. That's where you belong. Okay? All right. Now we're getting down to the end here. I want to throw out something. Speaking of drugs, the government is willing to pay you $3,000 if you let them inject the flu virus up your nose. You believe that one? They're doing a study. What they want to do is they give you the flu virus and they quarantine you for 9 days to see how you react. You know, different age groups and this and that, and they pay you $3,000 to do it. Right? It might sound crazy, but $3,000 in 9 days ain't bad. You're just going to be sick for a week, I guess. I don't know. But speaking of the flu, I've got like the 7 worst places, or 7 worst places to be where you get germs. All right, where you're going to get the flu or whatever. Okay. All right, and the number one spot is like daycare and preschool. Okay, there's where all the germs are at because of the kids. Now, number 2 would be play dates with kids, because kids, they play together, they play each other's toys, they're spreading the germs like crazy. Now, a lot of this has got to do with kids, okay? Airplanes, of course, because it's contained. You ever been on an airplane, John, and somebody's sneezing? Don't you just want to cover your head? Don't you just want to cover your whole head?
That's right, especially when they don't cover their face or cover their nose. Yep.
I get so skeeved out, man, when I hear somebody sneezing or hacking or coughing anywhere near me. I just want to cover my face up. Actually, you know what I do when I fly now, John? I take they got these what is it, like coldies or whatever. It's like I take them before even that's it. I just put the something in my system to fight it before it even gets there.
Well, my sister was telling me that, I told you before that she's heading down to Florida to visit the neighbors that used to live next door to her up there. And she said that she's going to take something, because she's leaving next week, and she's going to take something to build her immune system up so she doesn't get sick. Yeah,
because there's you got a couple hundred people on a plane, 150, whatever it is, depending on the size of the plane, how far you're going. Hey, there's always somebody on there coughing, sneezing, or something, man. It's just not healthy.
And what'll happen? They'll catch it and go. They're on vacation. They catch it, and then that ruins their vacation.
Right.
They're sick then.
Exactly
the whole time.
right. So you got the daycare and preschool. You got play dates. So those are kids. You got the airplanes. Doctors' offices are real bad because everybody goes in there sick and they're touching. So when you pick up the damn magazine at the doctor's office, wash your hands or bring some of that stuff you put on them. Okay, how about the mall? The mall's a terrible place, they say, especially if you're pushing a cart around. Like in a store, they said that there's so many germs on those things, it's unbelievable. Okay, how about these indoor playgrounds? They got these places where kids go and they bounce around, they jump around and do all that stuff for hours and hours. I can't even imagine the germs flying around there. Okay? And then here, this one's really going to get you. Your home. Because everybody brings the stuff in from being out. I would think the home is the least place where you're going to get it, because if you're halfway clean, you ain't got to worry about it. And listen, the key to all of this is wash your hands constantly. Okay? You got to wash your hands, cover your face when you sneeze, And, the best thing people came out with is the fist bump. You don't have to shake hands with everybody anymore. You can fist bump your friends and stuff because you don't know what they've touched. You don't know where their hand's been or where some people are too lazy to sneeze in their elbow, so they sneeze in their hand. They're covering up, but it's in their hand. Then they're touching everything. That ain't helping nothing.
That's right.
Right, John?
That's right. Joe, at the Kmart, I go to the Kmart in Lake Geneva, right off of Route 50 there.
Yeah.
As you walk in, as you get your cart, as you're going to go into the store, they have a big container where you can take out
the wipes.
The wipes, yeah.
Yeah.
And wipe off the handle and wipe your hands and all that, and the handle on the cart and all that.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
All stores should do that.
That's right.
They should all do that.
Yep.
They should all do that. Okay, well, we're winding down now. I want to thank everybody for listening. And again, if you ever feel like calling in, our number is 708-453-5114. It's always good to hear from you. You can go online at windycityhometown.com and see our schedules, listen to our shows. Okay, we're Windy City Hometown Network. And we want to thank Kevin. He's the manager over at Jack FM at 89.7 WRHS Norridge at Ridgewood High School. We appreciate him for putting us on the air over there at the school and his listening audience. And I want to thank John DeVita here at the Broadcast Center for having me and putting me on the air. And I want to thank everybody else for listening, and hope you listen again. And I hope to hear from you soon. And in my opinion, have a great day. Bye-bye now.
You have been listening to Opinions with Joe Rouse from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita. Our audio engineer is James Rohde, and our co-producer for Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network is John Chikanda. This program was pre-recorded on Monday, January the 27th. Be safe, and thanks for listening.